Imagine this. You get your contracting license tomorrow. You pass the test, they send it in the mail, you got it, you're looking at it. You know how to install, you know what you're selling, what service you're selling, you know how to budget, you have $30,000 in the bank, you have a $30,000 credit line that you don't need to pay back for another 6 months to a year, and you have it at 0 interest because you have great credit. You're in a good place. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Young Electrician Podcast. My name is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. This is the career building podcast for the electrical apprentice and journeyman that know that they're capable of much more and they want more for their life and their career. My promise to you guys is if you stick around to the end of this episode, you will get practical advice that you can start today that will help boost your chances at starting off as a successful contractor from the beginning and not struggle like many of us have in the career that waited a little too long to start thinking like a contractor and suffered for it. So let's hop into it. All right, so number one, no matter what stage you're in, whether it's 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, or you're just starting out and you're going to start school tomorrow, doesn't matter. The first thing is identity shift. Most electricians struggle when they become a contractor, myself included, because they wait too long to start thinking like an owner or start thinking like a contractor. One of the biggest mistakes we make is that we wait until we decide to become a contractor or we're taking the exam to start thinking like a contractor. The best thing you guys could do is to have that identity shift now and try not to think like an employee, but start to think of every day on the job as though you were the owner. What does that mean? You have to ask questions like, how much does this job cost? And honestly, like a lot of people, when you ask them, especially like the project managers or the foremen, they actually like talking about this stuff because this is what's in their head. This is the stuff that they do behind the scenes. That's boring. But when somebody asks about it, it's their level of area of expertise. So they like to talk about it, asking how much does this job cost? What's the typical type of profit that we make from this? Or what are we aiming for? Why are we using particular types of material on this job? Is it cost efficient, or is it because we want to use the higher quality material because we want to keep these kind of clients? Really learning how the contractors that you're working for think, bid jobs, looking at things like how do you guys schedule work? How do you guys determine how many people you need on the job or how many man hours you guys need? Really looking at the flow of the job. How does the foreman look at the plans and decide step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, or how does the project manager break up the job from start to finish, and how do they determine how many people are going to be on that job? Of course, if you're just starting out, a lot of these things would be over your head, but asking these questions would start to put this understanding in your head and start to help you think like an owner. So when you're on the job site and you're thinking, well, I remember that my boss said this task, installing lights at the end, maybe they didn't bid a lot of time for it because they expect it to go fast. So let me see how many man hours are we using to install all of these lights? And if it goes over, what were some of the obstacles that caused you to fall behind, to go over those hours, to start dipping into the company's profits? Because even though you're not making money on this project, besides the money you're making hourly, you are gaining experience by practicing looking at a job from start to finish, possibly, and determining how many man hours are we using. What are efficient ways to get these tasks done that will save time, save cost of material? And when you start looking at it that way, you start looking at it as an owner, not that you're like bossing people around or trying to be somebody that's in charge, but you're just looking at it as an owner that wants to make profit. A lot of guys, they look at it as just a 8-hour job, 40 hours a week. They're getting paid. It's just a paycheck. And you know what? Fine, whatever. We need people to install. But if you want to be a contractor, then you need to start looking at it as something way more than just a worker. You have to start looking at the cost of the job, the hours of the job. So when everybody else is kind of slacking off, you're thinking, not that you're, going around telling on people or, just getting people's business, but you're looking at it and you're thinking, how would I handle this situation if I were the owner? How can I keep these guys motivated? How could I structure it to get more, not just more work from people, but better quality work for people? Because sometimes a job needs to go, 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 and you need to work really hard to get things done because the time crunch, that's just the type of project it is. But other projects are more delicate. They need quality and they need care and they need thought more than they need speed. When you're dealing with life safety stuff, they might want you to move fast, but somebody could die. When you're dealing with big technical equipment that somebody could die if you install this particular thing wrong, like something big could happen, or you millions of dollars could be lost. Like I work in data centers right now, and if we mess something up, millions of dollars, probably hundreds of $1,000,000 would be lost, jobs would be lost, bad things will happen. So we have to take a lot of care and time and thought in what we do, and which is new to me because I'm used to being in companies that is just go, go, go. But that works for one type of company, but it doesn't work for another type of company or another part of the electrical industry. So start asking questions, start trying to consider your man hours, start trying to figure out profit margins, and really overall put yourself in the mind of an owner. If you own this company, if you were your own employee, if you were going to make the profit of that job, how would you want it to go? How would you want somebody like you to work? And how would you want somebody like you to think about it? The second thing is budgeting. You need to learn to budget in your own life, because if you can't budget and manage your own life, you're not going to be able to budget and manage a company. And being a contractor, being a business owner is more than being an installer. A lot of guys, they're like, man, like I'm installing these lights and my boss is making bank on this job and I'm the one doing the work. But what they don't realize is there's a ton of stuff behind the scenes that needs to be done in order for you to install those lights. And sometimes their job is way harder than your job. Not all the time. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. And one of those things is budgeting. If you don't budget, you go broke as a company. If you don't budget, you go broke. Now, one of the things that I recommend is we need to start looking at our lives like businesses. The money you make, because this is what happens in a business. You need to make money. You need money coming in every single week, every single month. You need money coming in. But it costs money to run that. You have employees, you have insurance. If you're in California, you get taxed on every single thing. You have taxes to pay, you have payroll, you have all kinds of stuff to do and to take care of. You have material to buy, you have permits to get, you have different insurances to get for different jobs. There's a lot that goes into it, and these things cost money. It costs a lot of money to run certain types of companies doing certain types of jobs. So you need to know, how much money do I have coming in? How much potential money do I have coming in? And how much money is going out? How much money is leaving? How much money does it cost to run this business per week, per day, per month, whatever? Because if you got money coming in and that same amount of money is going out and you have no profit, you got $3,000 coming in and you got $3,000 going out, you have no profit. You might as well not be in business, and you're probably not going to be in business long if you just keep breaking even. You got $3,000 coming in, and now you're spending $2,000 going out. You're making $1,000 profit. You need to learn to budget now. Budget in your own life, because if you can learn to budget in your own life, you can learn to budget well in the company, and it will save you a lot of time, money, and headache. Look at the money coming in. Look at your pay stubs. How much money do you make a week? How much money does that equate to in a month? And then you got to look at your what's going out. What are your expenses for living? Car, gas, rent, phone, every single thing that you need to pay for, food, and you need to determine how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. So money coming in minus money going out, that equals your profit. That is your life's profit. That's how much you make. That's the money that should be going into your savings, should be going into your emergency fund, should be going into your investments, should be going into your retirement. Because if you were a business and you were making no money, the money coming in was the money going out, and you had no profit, you go out of business. So start practicing it now in your life, so that when you become a business owner, you understand cash flow. You understand money coming in, money going out, profit margin. You understand things that will get in the way, that will take away from that profit. You understand things you could do that could add to that profit. Learn to budget. Okay. And the second part of this is building your credit. You need to build your credit. Now, why? Why do you need to build your credit? One, it shows that you do know how to budget. I'm getting this much money in and I'm using my credit to purchase certain things, but I know that I could pay my credit card back at the end of the month or before the end of the month, so I don't get charged an interest rate or interest fee, and you're building credit at the same time. Now, this is why building credit is really important, not just because it shows that you know how to budget, but because when you start a company and you want to open a line of credit, you want a business credit card, and you need some money to operate and you don't want to just spend the money in your bank, and I'll tell you why in a second. Nobody's going to lend you money if you don't have any credit. Nobody's going to lend you any money. Nobody's going to open a line of credit. Nobody's going to help you out, and you're going to be struggling. You're going to have to build it with your own money, which you can, completely fine. You don't have to borrow money. But a lot of times in the business world, what people do is, let's say they're starting a business, they have $30,000 cash, maybe set up in a bank somewhere. They will go and get a line of credit, maybe for $20,000, $30,000. They already have the money there. They could pay it back if they need to. But why spend your resources when you could spend somebody else's resources? I want to really break it down so you guys understand this. Let's say if I have $10,000 in the bank, right? Now, if I spend that $10,000 on material, on people's wages, on my own gas, my own wages, and then I don't get paid on time, I have no money. I have to borrow money next pay period because I need to pay my guys or I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to owe a lot of money. Now, if I have that same $10,000, whatever it was, and then I go and open a line of credit for $10,000 that I don't need to pay back for, the next 6 months or so. And it's a very low interest rate or a no interest rate sometimes, depending on how good your credit is. I'll be able to borrow their money and have a certain amount of time to pay it back. Now I get their $10,000 and I invest that in my company, buying material, paying people, whatever it may be. And if something happens where I don't get paid, guess what? I have an extra $10,000 sitting there already. I don't have to worry about that. When I do get paid, my bank account increases with the profit. I still have the money, the original $10,000 I was going to use for my business, plus the profit that I made. Now I can go and I can pay that back to that line of credit. Does that make sense? I could pay that back to that line of credit. So I'm kind of putting up a hedge or a protection for myself so that I'm not spending all my money. I'm not spending my resources. I have this cushion right here. I'm spending somebody else's money that I'm borrowing at a very low to no interest rate for a certain amount of time. And I'm saving my money as a buffer in case this money runs out, I don't get paid, I still have money to operate my business. I hope that makes sense. Now, the reason you need to build credit right now is because your business's credit, when you first start, is going to be based off your credit. So when you go to open up a line of credit, if you have bad credit, you ain't getting a line of credit. You ain't getting a credit card, or you're getting a terrible interest rate. And now if you borrow money or if you open a credit card, the interest rate on that's going to be ridiculous. And you're going to be paying a lot of what your profit would have been. Again, back to the budgeting thing, money coming in, money going out. You could afford a small percentage on, paying this money back that you borrowed, but you can't afford a large, ridiculous 3, 4, 5, 10% of your profit when you're borrowing money. So you need to start building credit now so you'd have a great line of credit in your personal life. And when you start your business, you could have a great line of credit starting off. Hope that made sense. So why do these two things matter? The learning to budget, learning to build in credit, although I think I gave a lot of points on this, but they matter because one, it's going to help you estimate jobs because you understand budgeting. It's going to prevent you from failing due to poor management. Poor money management will cause your business to fail. It's going to give you a leverage with banks, with credit lines, with material companies, because believe it or not, material companies will open a line of credit in their company for you. They will float you material and you can pay them back in like 28 or 30 days, something like, I can't remember what it was, but it's something like that. So you are just going to set yourself up to succeed. While the other guy who doesn't know how to budget, has terrible credit, never actually paid attention to how do you run a job site, how do do these things operate, how much profit margin do you actually need, and how do you try to aim to actually hit that profit margin without losing money. When you start trying to build the plane in the sky, you're in a very bad position. 3, pick a specialty. It doesn't matter, again, how long you've been in the trade. If you're new, you might want to get your feet wet, get into whatever company, start learning a little bit, asking questions, figuring out different career paths, and kind of seeing what might make money as a new electrical contractor. What has a low overhead, what costs less money. A lot of people go into service because it doesn't really cost that much money and you're usually getting paid same day. But find something that you want to do. One two things you want to do. Is it something in residential? Is it something in commercial? Is it industrial? It doesn't really matter how big or massive the thing is, or how complicated it might be. What you want to do is you want to start positioning yourself to be an expert in that. One, you want to get into a company that does that. You want to get into a company that does that. A lot of companies, retrofit lights. That makes a ton of money. If you could retrofit lights and you got a good business plan and a good way of operating, and you're just retrofitting lights in place, you can make a ton of money. If you're installing car chargers or doing solar, you can make a lot of money. But you have to figure out what you want to do and really start investigating what is the profit margin building you apartment complexes? What is the profit margin of having a service company, a successful service company in residential or in commercial, or maintaining generators, maintaining motors or something like that? What's going to make me money? And then start to specialize in that. Get into that kind of company, learn as much as you can about it, every aspect of it that you can, become a very good electrician in that area. Pop that code book open and start finding those sections where they talk about that, because you want to engulf yourself in that. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you want to be surrounded by that, because what's going to happen when you get your contracting license, it's going to be easier for you to feel confident to go and do that job. A lot of guys that get their contracting license, they've been working for somebody else. They haven't been thinking like an owner. They haven't been specializing in anything. And then they're like, they think it's just going to be cake. It's just like I do at work. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this job. I'm going to have the plans and blah, blah, blah. You get to the job that you just bid. You have no plans. There's no material there. Nobody's telling you what to do. And they want you to be finished yesterday. And then you're just like, what the heck did I just get myself into? But if you're specializing in something, let's just say, for example, you work for a company that services generators, right? Let's just say that. And you become really good at that. You get certified in, servicing particular types of generators, whether it's whatever generators it is. And now you're a contractor, and you want to get into that to do it for yourself. You already know the process. You already know how to service them. You already know the common issues. You already know how to probably talk to clients. You already know how long it's going to take. And now all you got to do is learn to budget it. How much do I have to charge to make a profit? How much can I pay myself? Am I going to hire somebody else? You can do the logistics. Now, when you go to do the job, you already understand, one, how to bid the job, how to count the man hours on the job, how long should it take. You already know some of the problems you could run into. So now you're just going to go and complete the task. You know how to set up the job flow, the job process from start to completion to getting paid, where somebody else that was just working for somebody else that wasn't thinking about it isn't going to know that. If you worked for an electrical service company, right? I worked for a lot of companies building new residential apartment complexes. I learned a lot there, but when I try to transfer that over to, doing service work in people's houses or running new lines, like I found myself in a world of problems that I wasn't expecting to run into, because I've never done that before. I'm just running into this cloth wiring, and I'm like, what the heck is this stuff, and some knob and tube stuff, and you're just like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. And it looks very dangerous. And you're like, man, all these walls are closed. I don't have open walls. I don't know what's in these walls. I didn't run this wire. It's not like when you're trying to run new wire that somebody forgot in an apartment or in a house that you wired. Like, I know where the wires are going. I know where I could drill through. I know how to get this wire from here to A to B. I don't know how this person wired it. I don't know what pipes are in this wall. I've never seen this wall open. So there's a lot that if I worked for a company that did, like a service company that worked on residential homes and did additions and stuff like that, I would have known a lot more, and it would have been an easier transition, a smoother transition into that. But there were so many things I had to learn, and so many things that just freaked me out, because I was like, man, I'm going to do it because I need this money. But it took me way longer because I had to be way more cautious. It was a new experience for me, a new field for me. Even though I understood residential extremely well, this was just a whole new box of worms I never opened before. So try to get into a company and start to specialize in the thing you want to do. When you start your electrical company, you're contracting, do one thing. Just do one thing. Don't try to do everything. If you want to make the least amount of money, try to do everything. Be the everything guy, so nobody knows what the heck to call you for. What are you, electrician? I'm an electrician. No. Be the lighting guy, the guy that comes and installs lights and fans inside somebody's house, right? Be an expert in that. Do that really well. Be the generator guy that comes and installs backup generators and alternating transfer switches on somebody's house. You can do other stuff. Trust me. Once you do one thing, people are going to ask you to do other things, but have one thing. You need the thing that's going to get you in the door. This is why you're going to specialize in something. Be the generator guy, be the solar guy, be whatever it is, become an expert in it. So when you start your business, you can start advertising for that. Hey, solar. We'll install solar, blah, blah, blah. Give them your sales pitch, and people will start calling you for that. If you do not have a specific thing you're doing, nobody's going to know when to call you. If you're just an electrician and you do everything, nobody's ever going to know what to call you for. But if you give them a reason to call you, this way you got to specialize in something. You want new lights installed in that one room in your house that only has one little half-hot plug, they're going to call you. And then you're going to get more work from that. You need your little funnel, your little way in, your little hole in the wall, your little hole in their armor where you're going to pierce through and get on the inside. Then that's a whole other field, a whole other level of contracting. Then you can try to upsell them and then sell them again in the future and just become their electrician. But you need to specialize in something. You need to have something that you are selling to them, that they know the specific thing. You have to be very specific about the thing you're selling to them, the reason they need to call you, and even why it should be you that they call. And again, once you figure out what you're specializing in, you have to go all in on it. No matter what stage of your career that you're in right now, go all in on it. Learn the material, learn the methods, learn the time, learn the cost. There's a ton of information out there right now. Guys I recommend listening to are Jeff the 360. Jeff the 360 is the reason why I stayed the course and got certified. Got my contracting license. I was so discouraged because I felt so stupid trying to study for it. I felt so I don't know, just so many voices in my head that just didn't want me to get this contracting license. But listening to the few videos, this is when Jeff the 360 barely started making YouTube videos, listening to the few videos he made, pulled that curtain back for me and helped me peer into it and gave me the confidence to get my contracting license. Also had him on this podcast last season, so go back and check that episode out. Very valuable for new contractors. The other podcast I recommend listening to is the $1 Million Electrician. I was actually on that podcast, interviewed. I was a guest, I think like 4 or 5 months ago. So go back, listen to that episode too. I'll probably have that linked in the description so you guys can check that out. Had a really awesome time with them. Probably going to have them on this podcast too soon, so keep an eye out for that. You want to go and try to get as much information as you can about that particular thing, about that particular area. Methods, material, costs, manpower, man-hours, insurances, permits. Learn as much as you can, because the more prepared you are, the better you're going to do when you get there. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be, if I were to go back, I'd rather be the guy that knew what he was doing and what he was going to do before he did it. I want to know the race that I'm running before I get to the starting point. Because having general knowledge in a specific area will get you a job, but being a specialist in that, really knowing how to do it, how to sell it, will get you really paid. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in that area where you're getting really paid, not just a job here and there, but you become the expert in that thing and you have ongoing business, continuing business, people coming for you and referring people to you because you are the expert. You are great. You did an awesome job. You made them feel great. And that's all because you're not going in there anxious. You're not going in there stressed out. You're not going in there trying to build the plane in the air. You've pre-planned and you prepared for these things. I think we're on number 4. 4, learn the soft skills. The hard skills are, what are the hard skills? Installation, navigating the code book, learning the materials, all those things. Those are the hard skills. Those are things we do as tradesmen and tradeswomen. But you also need to learn the soft skills. Learn to estimate. You can practice putting estimation stuff together. The Electrical Code Coach actually has an estimating course for free on YouTube. I went through the whole thing. It's super awesome. He also has a paid version of it, I think. If it's good, go support him. I have no affiliation with him. He's just awesome. I'm always going to recommend people to go listen to his stuff. But he has a free estimating course. You could just go whatever stage you are, listen to that and start. You don't have to be a good electrician in order to learn how to estimate. There are estimators out there that have never picked up a pair of lineman pliers. You could learn how to estimate without knowing how to do the job. Not for you still need to understand certain aspects of it that's going to make it better, but you could learn those things. Learn to estimate, that's a soft skill. Learning to budget, that's a soft skill. learning to invoice, learning about the taxes, learning how to talk to clients, having that, can't even remember what the name of it is, but learn how to talk to people face to face and be pleasant with clients. That is a soft skill that will take you far. The difference between getting the next job or being referred might not be the work you do. You might do great work, but if they didn't have a good experience with you, they're probably not going to hire you again or refer you to somebody. So working on those soft skills of how do you communicate with people? How do you talk to a client? And how do you negotiate? Something we do not expect when we are not the ones bidding the jobs or talking to clients is negotiation. You say, hey man, I could do it for $30,000. And they say, well, can you do it for $20,000? We have a budget. And then you got to come back and you got to be like, well, we can probably do it for like $28,000. You have to know the game, especially if you're working with a general contractor or somebody who's going to sub the work out to you, because they're trying to make a profit too. And they're going to make a profit out of the same place you're going to make a profit from. They're going to pay you and they're going to keep something on top. So whatever, let's say a general contractor is going to hire you and they want you to put a bid together. And then from that, they're going to probably add some on top. Well, they're going to add some on top of that for themselves. If they look at your bid and they're like, man, the profit margin we're going to get on top of that's very low. We can only put like another $5,000 on that, $2,000, whatever it is. So we need this person to come down so we can make a bigger profit overall and not just be giving our money away to this company. So they're going to try to negotiate with you. So you got to learn how to negotiate, and you got to have that backbone and that certain way of talking to where you're not kind of an a-hole, but you're actually negotiating with them. You're being a pleasant person and you're standing your ground at the same time and you're being reasonable with them. That's a whole nother skill. These are soft skills that you need to learn when you're talking to a client and they need some lights in their house. And they're like, man, that's too expensive. What do you say? You start, getting hot and you're like, wow, this person thinks I'm just trying to rip them off. You start feeling bad. You start feeling, man, am I greedy? All these thoughts start coming into your head, and you need to know how to be calm and talk to them and give them a reason why. Why is it expensive? If you listen to a lot of guys online, a lot of sales guys will just tell them like, yeah, it is expensive. I know it's really expensive to, redo all your electrical in your house. It's really expensive to do a service upgrade. These things are expensive. Yeah, I agree with you. Just go from there. And a lot of them won't even try to push back on it. They agree. It's expensive. Electrical is expensive. It's crazy. I can't believe how expensive things are today. When do you want to start? And if they're like, hey, can you do a lower price? You have to have a backbone to say, no, I can't do a lower price. Unless like, hey, if you do need a lower price, we could work something out for you. Maybe like if it's not in your budgets, I know you wanted these particular type of lights. Maybe we could go for something a little cheaper. So instead of taking money away from yourself and what you're getting paid, your profit, maybe they just get some cheaper lights. I know you guys wanted USB outlets in multiple rooms. Those are really expensive. What if we just do regular outlets? We do a couple USBs maybe in the kitchen or in a bedroom or something like that, and we could reduce the cost. Or it's like, hey, you guys wanted a sub panel over here. How about we just take that sub panel off? Right? Or whatever it may be. You have to play with the numbers and see what you could do, but you need to learn to negotiate so that you're not losing money. Nobody should go into business to lose money. You go into business to make money. Something I learned after starting contracting is that electrical, for the most part, I think like 95% of the time, if somebody wants some electrical work done, it's a luxury item. Think about it. If somebody has an emergency and their breakers aren't working or they're humming or something and I don't know, if some dangerous situation's happening and it needs to be fixed, and that's an emergency. And that's a small percent, I think, of most people's problems and why most people call electricians. But for everybody else, they want their lights upgraded. They want their service upgraded. They want more outlets in their house or in their offices. They want to renovate something. They want to renovate and build out this new place for their business. And they need outlets, lights, and all this stuff. That's a luxury item. That's a luxury item. That's not a need. That's a want. They want these things. They want a backup generator. They want solar. They want whatever the thing is. Fill in the blank. And if it's a luxury item, don't give it to them at a cheap rate. You spend a lot of time, energy, money, blood, sweat, tears learning your craft. If anybody could do it, they could call anybody, but they can't. If they want a professional installing the work like you are and you should be, then they need to pay a professional wage. Remember, it is a luxury item that they are getting, so you you need to charge a luxury price. I don't mean like overcharging them and ripping them off, but you're not in business to lose money. You're in business to make money. You're in business to pay your employees a livable wage, to pay, or hopefully above a livable wage because it's flipping expensive right now. And pay yourself, take care of your family, leave something for a future generation. And if you're the guy that gives everybody a deal, you're not giving them a deal. You're stealing from your employees. You're stealing from yourself. You're stealing from your children. You're stealing for future generations so that you could give somebody else a deal. Somebody's going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it or they're going to pay for it. And if you're doing the job and you're giving them this luxury item, product, service, you need to charge a luxury price for it. You cannot be the one losing in the negotiation. Being a good electrician does not equal being a good contractor. They're two different things. Most electrical businesses, from my understanding, fail for not knowing how to manage, for bad money management, not knowing how to estimate, and weak communication. If you can't communicate, if you can't estimate, if you can't budget, if you're struggling in one of these areas, not just being an installer, it's a technical skill to install electrical equipment and material properly. But if you cannot do the soft skills, if you cannot manage your business as a contractor, as an owner, whole different beast, you will fail or you will struggle before you succeed trying to learn these lessons. Whatever stage you're in, whether you're an apprentice, a journeyman, you're doing side work, foreman, whatever the heck it is, if you want to become a contractor, you need to start now. Track your personal budget every week, every month. Know what's coming in, know what's going out, learn to budget. Start building your credit because that is going to help you out tremendously. Unless you got daddy's bank account and he's rich and he's going to bankroll this thing for you, you need credit. Businesses are built on either hard work and investing your own money, or you do it the easy way and you do it with other people's money. You need to pick a specialty and become really good at it. Spend the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your life becoming an expert in that area. And lastly, start setting aside money now. This wasn't one of my points earlier, but you need to do this. Start setting money aside now. Once you start budgeting in your own life, you got money coming in, money going out, profit. Hopefully that profit's increasing, especially if you're an electrician. That profit should start increasing what you're able to save a month. And by the time you start your company, if you have $20, $30, $40, $50,000 set aside because you know how to budget and you know how to save, you know how to estimate in your own life what you need, you're going to start off on a good foot. Imagine that. Imagine this. You get your contracting license tomorrow. You pass the test. They send it in the mail. You got it. You're looking at it. You know how to install. You know what you're selling, what service you're selling. You know how to budget. You have $30,000 in the bank. You have a $30,000 credit line that you don't need to pay back for another 6 months to a year, and you have it at zero interest because you have great credit. You're in a good place. So I teach a lot of stuff and I speak about a lot of stuff that I learned the hard way, because for me, the majority of things that I do because I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I did, and nobody was there to instruct me. A lot of these things I've learned the hard way, and I want to give them to you guys so that you guys don't have to learn the hard way. You guys, that's what we should do. If I learned something the hard way, I should want to pass it on to the next generation so that they don't. They can be a little further along than me. Everybody should do that. And then when you get further along in your career, you should pass it on to somebody else, not with a podcast, YouTube video, or anything like that necessarily, but just in your life. We should be trying to build the next generation up. So that's what I'm doing on this podcast. So if you enjoyed this podcast, if you learned something from this podcast, then I will ask you guys, please share this with somebody in your crew, in your apprenticeship that you think would benefit from this. And I would greatly appreciate this. It doesn't cost you any money to do that, but it will benefit us so much if you guys would do that. And real quick, I want to tell you guys about a couple of our sponsors. One is Ask Netta. Ask Netta, I spoke about a little bit on the other episodes. It's super awesome. If you're an apprentice and you are studying to be a journeyman, then this is going to help you, because what Ask Netta is an AI application where you could ask it NEC questions and it will give you an answer with an explanation. So it is very helpful. I've been using it. I've been loving it. I'm going to have that linked in the show notes or in the description of this episode. go check Netta out. You can get it for free. So you don't have to pay anything. You get it for free. And also you can, I think, get a free trial on their premium membership. I think it's 2 weeks. Don't quote me on that, but go check it out. It's super awesome. I love it. I think you guys will benefit from it. If you are contracting right now, you know that you have to figure out code. What needs to be installed in this garage? What kind of outlets, what kind of wires, what kind of conduit. And sometimes we have a lot of things on our mind. So if you know the areas you're going to be working in, you're able to ask those questions to Netta. You can just be like, hey, Netta, what kind of box do I need to install outside in this garden area, right? You probably already know, but you might not know. And then Netta will tell you. So if you're an apprentice, if you're a contractor, it is going to benefit you. So go check Ask Netta out. Also, we are partnered with Jobber, so if you want to use Jobber for 14 days free, go in the show notes. I'm going to have it linked below. You're going to get 14 days free, and I think you're going to get an additional saving on top of that. If you need help scheduling jobs, doing invoices, then check in that link below for Jobber and sign up. Let them know we sent you, and then come back and let us know what you think about them. All right, with that said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.